Hello and welcome back. My name's Glenn Keller and I'm with awtoolbox.com. In this video, we are continuing our talks about Active Workspace and getting you an overview of the client, its capabilities, how to perform different use cases as a part of different scenarios, and really give you an idea of how to interact with this pretty robust client that's sitting here allowing you to do your work day to day. So in this video, we're going to focus in on how you access the Active Workspace client. So if this is your first time coming into Teamcenter, you've just been hired by a company, maybe you're doing your own thing, you're consulting, you've got your own server farm up, whatever be the case, if you're accessing Active Workspace and you did not install the software, then you are going to be provided a URL. Now, a URL is like the HTTP, google.com, the full thing. So administrators in your organization are going to provide that URL to you. And it may vary, but in this version, the default URL is something like what you see on the screen. HTTP training01:3000. So training01 represents what computer they give you that it's hosted on, and 3000 represents something else. Now this could be many things, so don't take my word for it. That's just the out-of-the-box string. It can be changed. So if you don't know how to access it, it will have been provided to you. And once you have that, we recommend to create a bookmark in your browser, just like I've done here, just so you have it. And you can always right-click and choose Edit to edit the bookmark if the URL ever changes. If you're a user that's a little bit more user-friendly, user-heavy for Active Workspace, then you may be provided development environments or training environments that the administrators will have you test new processes and changes to existing processes in. But if you've only been provided one, don't worry about those. In here, Active Workspace is pretty much just a set of panes with information at the top and buttons on the top and right and left. Now, simple navigation in here is pretty streamlined to industry standards with websites. You can see this is hosted. I'm using Google Chrome at the moment. You can use Microsoft Edge, Safari, etc. But usually Chrome is the most reliable in most cases if you can use it. This is a browser, so this is a mobile-friendly application, and just note that if your organization allows it, you could pull this in on a mobile device, and you can emulate the mobile device settings. So definitely take a look. We're going to try and set that kind of a thing up in future videos, but accessing the client through the browser using a URL provided, or you could be accessing Active Workspace through something like NX, which is another software provided by Siemens. So in that case, you would get into NX and you would have Active Workspace right there in there. So we'll talk more about that as the using topics go along. Now, once you get access to Active Workspace, two things will occur. So if I sign out here, the first and most likely is that you have a landing page, something that comes up like this. It may be customized a little bit, so you may see your information, so the picture may be different, that kind of thing, depending on how interactive your administrators get with it. But you get a username and a password, and then depending on your environment, you may have additional localizations for language packs down below. So if you get prompted for a username and password, it's been provided to you. So you just type that in and then you click login. Now, those of you that have what is called single sign-on enabled in your organization may never see this login page. In that situation, you have some type of identifying card or your operating system or something that provides the cert and passes your credentials to Active Workspace. So when you log in your standard way in the organization, Teamcenter will know to authenticate you and log you in. Now that is a feature that does need to be enabled, so you may see one or the other method. If I click log in, it will log me in If you get an error, it will tell you an error message on the screen, and it's recommended to send that to your administrators or the help desk. And then you'll get a page that looks similar, though probably a little different than this page. So these are the defaults. This is a basic blank slate of Active Workspace. It's how it comes out of the box. You may have additional tiles that your organization has set up for you, but there are just a couple of key elements in here. So one of the elements is your search box. I'm highlighting it on the screen in the upper right hand area. This global search allows you to search on anything that you've been enabled to search for. So you can quickly type different phrases in here. Maybe you're looking for IDs. I can say cutter. And then I have an assembly in the system that'll return if I get a result. In this case, I didn't have anything, so I'll do 24. And you'll see that it'll run the search, and depending on what I get back, I could have a set of results. So you can see this. So the search feature has a lot of different components to it. You can rework the search results. You can perform advanced searching, which enables you a little bit more control on what you're filtering on as you execute. Both of these mechanisms are a little different in the way they run in the background. So you may see the global search be a little bit more behind the pace than the advanced search. Other things that you'll see in this window is when things open up, you typically have a panel for interaction over on the left-hand side. You could also have a panel on the right-hand side, so pay attention as those panels provide additional options as you get working with Active Workspace. And then you'll see editors. Typically it's arranged like this, where you have a list of results depending on the page or the search you've done, and an editor window where you can interact with attributes, workflow history, attached objects to, let's say, a part has a defining document, trace links, and other elements such as visualization data. So it's kind of arranged like this, though you can use things like additional layouts to change the layout view if you're more comfortable with more of a top and bottom approach. I'm going to leave it to the default, the left-right side, as I'm a little bit more comfortable with that. Just note that there are a lot of toggles, and typically across one of these views you'll have different options to change how you're looking at the data, so definitely pay attention to that. And I've left this custom command from some of our customization courses to indicate that your administrators and the people installing the software may have additional bells and whistles installed across the system that do not come standard. So definitely pay attention to the provided training at your organization to understand the differences, as this is a general approach. Other things that we'll be talking about in this playlist or course is the gear button, the table interactions, being able to arrange different properties in the tables. Siemens has done a lot to improve this functionality throughout the versions, and you get the ability to add and kind of access any properties that you've been given read access to. You can change those arrangements and create custom layouts that you can use for different scenarios. You can also filter in at any time after you perform searches to get the best case scenario, and then you can create new tiles by pinning objects, kind of like creating a favorites. There is an explorer that allows you more of a desktop type of an approach to the application. So if you go to the Explorer and open it up, it'll give you a little bit better of a view of kind of what your home page looks like. So you can see the Explorer gives you quick access to your favorites, active folders, which are essentially searches for data that run anytime you expand them. The home folder, which is kind of like your desktop. And then if you participate in projects, which is kind of isolating sets of data into a specific category so only certain individuals in your organization can see it, then you'll see your project data here as well. Across the top here, you can see things like who you are logged in, the last time this object that's open, the home folder, was modified. If the object has a status on it or has been locked down, released, approved, obsoleted, canceled, anything like that, that's what release status indicates. And then what type of object this is. You can see the breadcrumbs keep going, and you can use these little arrows to navigate if you want. In addition to that, you always have a standard set of buttons. Now, these buttons will change depending on the page that you're on. But just note your standard cut, copy, and paste are here, opening with different applications, integrations like an X or Viz or Office, changing your layouts. There's an information panel that you can open that provides additional information depending on what is selected. And you can undock that and kind of move it around if you want. So these docking and moving capabilities are throughout the system. And then, depending on the features that are installed, like we said, this discuss is a feature that can be installed, but you can discuss objects, you can add a discussion to it, kind of like commenting on your favorite video. And then the dots always represent additional menu items. So creating new objects, editing data, submitting to workflows and adding to favorites, sharing the data like copying links and passing them in Teams, or coming in and viewing data like comparing structures and importing and exporting data to send it over to your vendors or your partners so that they can import the data at their Teamcenter sites. You have an inbox over here, and the inbox is going to provide you a place that you can interact with workflows. So if an approval comes your way, you can see all the attached data to it right here in one location. And then changes, you have a home for changes in your system. And as we walk through the using inside of 2406 Active Workspace, we're going to create change processes and see how we can interact with those and how this page interacts with them. And then you can also run reports and build reports as a user in the system as long as it's been supplied to you. And those reports are going to give you things like charts and definitions of different elements that are in the system. I currently don't have any data, and you can see these are blank, but as we build up new data, you'll see these get filled in more and more. If you come in, this is Active Workspace in a nutshell, and just note that now that you know a little bit about logging into the system, interacting with some of the navigation points and the UI or the layouts, just note that the information about who you are in the system is going to be in the top right-hand side. And in this location, if you click your circle, you can manage your profile and set surrogate and out-of-office information. Select which project you're currently working in so that all of the information you work with gets stored in that project. If you have multiple groups and roles, or what kind of a position you hold in the system, you could have multiple groups and roles you can switch here, and depending on what you switch to, you may have different permissions. And then revision rules, which is a concept in Active Workspace that may be a little bit newer to those of you that have been working in the rich client, but Active Workspace is revision driven. So essentially it just means if there are 5 copies of an object in the system as it's being worked, let's say the system saves every time you save that object. So all this is doing is basically telling the system, out of those save states, like maybe one of them hasn't been released yet, one of them's in work, somebody's working on it, but it's not quite there yet. So you don't want to see the data in a way that doesn't match what your goal is. If you're purchasing, you want to see release data. So revision rules tune the environment to show you the objects in the state that you want to see them. So all of this information is essentially available to you, and you can use this little toggle to add it to the bottom of the page so that you have it up, and just click the X if you want to close it, but you can switch between the values on the fly. I find this extremely useful if I'm doing more elaborate things like switching back and forth a lot or interacting with data on multiple tabs, something like that. So Active Workspace is going to help you out. It's going to provide you the ability to navigate, search effectively, manage who you are in the system, your permissions in the system, if you will, and give you a good foot forward as you get into this new career or get into the software to help with your existing one.